Hill, we're going to mess you up right away because Nancy and I kind of switched. She's speaking, so she shouldn't have to open and close the meeting. So I will open and close the meetings. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. If anyone has any announcements to make. Yes, of course, Dave.
There's so many academicians in this club. Academicians, teachers. So I want it made known that next Tuesday night, myself and my wife and another couple are going to go to Midnight Catechism. It's at the theater next to Shays. I think it's called 610 Main Street or something. Huh? 716. All right. It used to be Studio Arena. It's called Midnight Catechism. It's a one-woman play. She comes out dressed as a nun. The stage is decorated to look like a Catholic grade school classroom, and it's audience participation. I've seen bits of it on YouTube. It is very, very funny. I'm going to go buy 4 tickets today. If anybody thinks that next Tuesday, June 11th is good for them, just see me before I go buy the tickets. All right. Thank you so much. Yeah.
And goodies are from Tater Cakes today. And we have orange juice also. And next is our inspiration. And because we don't have agendas here, I don't know who the inspirator is. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Meetings should have as few people as possible, but all the right people. Success is often achieved by those who don't know that failure is inevitable. That's Coco Chanel. Growth and comfort do not coexist. That's Ginny Romedy. And finally, there is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs. Words from Zig Ziglar. Madam Toastmasters.
Okay, and next will be the pledge. If everyone would please rise, pledge to the allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may now be seated. Okay, I will now turn it over to our Toastmaster of the day, Phil Russell.
Good morning, Madam Presiding Officer. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
We're good then. We're good to go. Had a few little hiccups. One of them was I realized I was the Toastmaster for today, but I also have to take my dog to grooming at 9 o'clock. 9:30. And I could not have made it to Lockport to do this in person and back and take the dog to grooming. I already had to change that appointment once. And my little puppy gets very angry when I have to change her beautification time. So we had to do it through the miracle of Zoom. I'm able to take on this role. As you know, I've sent out multiple emails. And we have one thing that I didn't hear. One person was Larry McKenzie. I even called him, but I couldn't. So I'm short a WAG master if somebody thinks they want to go, because I did get a jester. Dave Licata actually said he would do it through a phone call. And thank you, presiding officer.
Larry McKenzie's here. He's making his way to the lectern.
Oh, perfect. Now, the thing that was interesting is for this meeting, we're going to be meeting simply on Zoom. we're going to be with Zoom for the balance of the summer coming up quickly. But there's a possibility, a great possibility we might be able to meet someplace. I talked with the people at LCTV. They have all the technology. They have everything there that we need except permission. And we can get that. That's a possibility. As we progress in this meeting, I will explain it. If we're going to do it, though, we have to have all hands on deck. And that means everyone has to help out because it can't be done alone. It's going to be a task. It can be done. Doesn't have to be done today. Doesn't have to be done even over the summer, but it could be worked on. So the possibility even for next summer. So let's progress. Let's start off. I see Larry came in and he said, "Oh, I'll be the WAG master. If you have anybody you'd like to assist you with master, word, or grammarian, please feel free. If there's somebody out there that doesn't have a job, give them the job, Larry. But it's your show now, Larry McKenzie, WAG master."
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, Phil Russell. Before I begin, I did answer on our AM Lockport Toastmasters. I am a late bloomer, and I answered last evening about 9:30. So just a little tidbit for all of our Toastmasters, check your AM Lockport in the morning before you come to the meeting. Sorry about that. Oh, okay, yes. Everyone in person today, members that are here, Len Thornton, Nancy Ferry, Kate Orr, Gerald Stevens, Beth Banks, Mary Cavanero, Sylvia Baptiste, David Channon, Steve Smith, Jill Roaring, Larry McKenzie, Joe, how do I say your last name? Joe Budnick. I couldn't read it. I couldn't. That is Joe Budnick. Are you in the back? I didn't see you. There you are. Dave Licata, we saw earlier. And on Zoom, we have Phil Russell, Margot Subitner, Mark Campos, Carol Ann Halstead, Eric Schneider, Tracy Farrell, and Marshall Song. Our word of the day, my job today, I am the WAG master. I will be giving you the word of the day, which is moxie. Ooh, moxie, M-O-X-I-E. Moxie is the word of the day. And moxie means you can refer to it as having courage, determination, energy, and pep, know-how. Used in a sentence, they showed a lot of moxie in questioning their company's policy. Moxie, courage, determination, energy, and pep. Also, I will be listening for any ahs, ands, so's, or filler words that will be used today. Good and bad grammar, and I will report as called on by our Toastmaster or our table topics master. And if you have another question, once again, it is Moxie, M-O-X-I-E. I will be posting this somewhere. And I will now turn the lectern back to our Toastmaster, Mr. Phil Russell.
Mr. Wagmaster Larry McKenzie, I want to appreciate that. You have to have a lot of moxie to be a Toastmaster, to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and be at a meeting, be it on Zoom or be it in person. All right, let's move forward. We have through our wonderful AV, I have to thank people like Lenny Thornton, Mark Campos, Larry McKenzie, when he works on the AV. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that this morning. Thank you so very much. There's a good one. I see Marshall Song is here. Marshall,
Hi.
the quote master. Marshall, are you ready? This early in the
Yeah,
morning? Marshall Song.
Okay. Yeah. Good morning, fellow members and distinguished guests. Who set me to be the quartermaster again? That's me. Maybe means you love my quote last week, but it's still need moxie to do that again. This week is not very serious. A girl told me that quote: if you buy one item, one cheap item, there are a lot of shortcomings. if you buy an expensive item, there is only one shortcoming, expensive. Let's try to use another way to explain it. The problems we are facing now, their answer in a higher dimension. If when I live in the rural area, I met a lot of problems. The environment, medicine, education, and hopeless bad food. But when I immigrated to a big city, all of those problems have been solved. When I was in high school, I met a lot of problems. But when I got bachelor and master degrees, I solved all the problems. Now I also have many problems, but I know if I can go to North America to get my PhD and find a better job, all of it can those problems can be solved. So I hope all of you can go to a higher dimension and solve your current problems. Thank you.
Very good, Marshall. Very good. We have another person, and he has a lot of moxie. I'll tell you what, he puts up with us on the golf course, and we give him a lot of heat. But he has the moxie to give it right back. And he's done that all his life. Let's get our jester up here, Dave Licata. David.
Good morning. I'd like to welcome our guest, Katie. Thank you, Dan. Thanks for coming by. Well, it's my duty this morning to come forward and tell you a joke, but I'm not as funny as a clown. Those would be awfully big shoes to fill. Take that, Eric.
All right, let's move on now. Oh, I have Mary Cavanero is our listed as our timer. She said she was going to be there. Is Mary here? Mary in the house? There she comes. There she is, Miss America.
I still have my raincoat on because it's raining here.
I know.
So table topics is 1:30 to 2 minutes and 2:30, right? Yeah, I should have brought my kids.
What's your role today?
Oh, I'll be timing everybody for speeches, table topics, and evaluators. Speeches are 5 to 7 minutes, 5 at yellow, 5 at green, 6 at yellow, and 7 at red with a 30-second buffer. And then evaluators are 2 minutes at green, yellow at 2:30, and 3 minutes at red with a 30-second buffer.
Thank you, Mary. Very good. Now, Mark Campos just told me we have a guest. We just have a guest. Who is our guest? Is this Cheryl? Are you our guest? Cheryl Pang? And did I pronounce your name correctly? Would you like to say hello?
Hello, this is Cherry Pan from China.
Oh, welcome. Too. All the way across the
Actually,
giant pond. Thank you for attending. We appreciate it. Welcome. Welcome you. We welcome all of our guests. All right, now, this is a tough job. You better have some moxie to answer her questions because she is the quiz master Margot Sue Bittner. Margot.
Good morning, Toastmaster Phil. I've been told I don't have moxie, but I go the next step and have a lot of chutzpah, which is the same thing in many ways. My job today is to listen, to come up with some questions for you at the end. I will limit it to 5. And I would appreciate it if somebody could stand at the lectern and communicate the answers that are given back, because when you shout them out, I can't always hear them. So, Mr. Toastmaster, that's what I will be doing. Thank you.
Right. Pay attention. That's one of the biggest things here with our guests, Sherry, that we try to pay attention to what's being said. It's a practice of listening, because I know myself. Sometimes I drift off and somebody's speaking and all of a sudden, what did they say? So the whole idea, and what Margot's job is to make sure that we are listening. Thank you much. Now, we are going to talk, we're going to have a table topics, speaking extemporaneously. And the person that's going to run this part of the meeting is in person. She lives down the street from me. She drove all the way through the rainstorm to get to that meeting on time. Is Miss Jill Roaring. Jill, can you come up and tell us what table topics is about? Jill Roaring.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry about the delay there. I was preparing. Table topics is about coming up with an answer to a question, speaking off the top of your head, speaking extemporaneously. Yes, wasn't coming out of my mouth that time. Okay. So basically, I will call 3 people up and I will ask a question. And it was pouring rain, pouring along the lakeshore this morning. For those of us who think it's raining here in Lockport, it's not. This isn't even a drizzle out there compared to what we dealt with. Anyhow, since the meeting was based on being live, I did something that requires people to be live here. So I have a limited choice of people to choose from. And I'm not sure how you're going to work Moxie into this question. But over on the table, I have 5 different plants that I brought out of my greenhouse this morning. And I'm going to ask you to pick one up and either tell us about the plant or give us a story about the plant or something like that. Whatever you choose to do. And since Beth is sitting there shaking her head, yes, she's going to come up first. And I will tell you what the plant is after the person speaks. I don't get to say what it is. You can say what it is if you know. Yeah.
I believe it's a petunia. It is a petunia. And apparently at our house, the stinking little, what are they, grubs, slugs, have a lot more moxie than we do. Because we cannot have petunias at our house, because apparently slugs really, really like petunias. So we had petunias one year. It didn't work well. The petunias ended up being eaten by the slugs. Even though my husband, he's the great fertilizer and person to get rid of critters we don't want, he just couldn't get ahead of the slugs when we had petunias. So petunias, though we both love them, they're just not on the list of what we can have at our house because the slugs are much more ahead of us than we are of them. So we do have to find things that are not slug attractors because we just can't do petunias. It's sad. So I bought 2 new flowers this year that I don't even remember the name of because the little tags were missing. They were white and red because we were supposed to do that for Town of Newfane. I guess we'll see if these particular plants are slug baits again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Beth. And yes, that is petunia. I do not know the variety because we went to a place called Mike Weber's Greenhouses back mid-April, early April. And I bought, over the course of a couple weeks, Mike Weber's is down in West Seneca. But over the course of a couple weeks, I probably bought about 350 plus 179 plants. Not very many, no, but when you're putting 5 in a hanging basket and, you know, because I make my own hanging baskets. I don't pay $30 for a hanging basket. And mine last all summer then because they aren't overgrown. All right. Next person. Katie, you don't have a job either. So let's see what plant she chooses and not the petunia. Oh, she took the easy one because it has a tag.
Well, these things are everywhere. Thank you very much. I recognize these as hostas. Hostas, they're everywhere. When they start, they don't give up. I don't know about those others because I'm not sure what those are, but hostas have moxie. Holy moly, they have moxie. I have planted many of them around my house. I've replanted them from others who've given them to us. We need it. Our yard needs a lot of TLC. For anyone who doesn't know, my husband and I bought my grandparents' home and it needed some TLC inside and out. And he does the gardening mostly. I'm kind of the helper and I do what I can. But we have a lot of these all around. They're so hardy. They just last. They do what they want. They grow anywhere, I think, but I'm not the gardener that my mother is, so I'm not fully certain. Jill, I'm so glad that you're one of our gardeners. We have so many gardeners in this club, and I think that nature, just touching soil and touching plants and breathing this in and connecting to the green is so, so important. And for anybody who hasn't seen Jill's gardens and greenhouse area, it is pretty stunning. So I'm sure you'll have times to visit if you haven't. Down in Wilson on a day when it's not a crazy thunderstorm like this morning. I thought I might fly here or something like that. It was quite a dark, stormy morning. Keep talking until the green light. Well, it's almost, I got the buffer. I might as well wrap up now. Thank you so much, fellow Toastmasters and our guest, Dan. Thank you very much.
I actually just bought that hosta last weekend. What's the name on it, Katie? It's on the tag. It's the other side. Dixie Chickadee. There are over 7,000 named hostas. Yes. I don't know if there is one named Fred. There is a guy named Fred in the Hosta Association, Western New York Hosta Association. Anyhow, hostas are very, very durable, especially if they love your location. There are some people that have a hard time with them, but if they have a hard time with hostas, they probably have a hard time with anything. Although Beth is there shaking her head. Beth, do you have hostas? How do you have hostas and slugs? Because hostas are slug bait too. Okay. Her hostas are big enough to overcome the slugs. Okay. They have maxi, yes. Okay. Let's see here. One more person. Who's looking at me with a? Yeah, Dave Licata is sitting there shaking his head. No, don't call on me. You was already up here? Yes. Dave Shannon. You're down to 3 different plants. You can choose one of those 3. A tree grows in Brooklyn. Okay, and the tag on the plant is nothing because I planted that. So don't rely on whatever it says. 725, okay, yeah. All right, Dave.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll hold it.
Thank you. Coming from the city, any plant around my house has to have a lot of moxie. Because in the city, we didn't grow too many plants because land was very precious. I had a strip of grass in between my driveway and the next drive. There was 40 houses on our street. Our street looked like something from All in the Family, if you remember those houses in Queens. Well, I have a plant in a little island in front of my house that has tremendous moxie despite our black thumbs. I don't know the name of the grass, but grass grows really 6 to 7 to 8 feet tall. And we have to do nothing except cut it down in the fall to practically nothing. And then it just grows and grows. Other plants don't do so well because they don't have the moxie of this grass. But there is a problem with the grass. We're pulling out of our driveway. We can't see people coming down the street on the sidewalk because the grass grows 7 feet high. So we inch out because the grass is more important than the local pedestrians. And if they don't see my car inching out, they'll have to have some more moxie the next time they come. So that is my story, and I'm sticking by it. And thank you so much for your attention. Oh, and I like this plant. I don't know what it is. I'll put it back.
No, I'll describe this plant. This is an elephant ear. The Latin name for it is Colocasia esculenta. I grow a lot of these. Steve was saying, oh yeah. I planted up about 150 of them. About a month ago now. And they're all starting to grow very nice. And I will put them out by the road for sale because within a couple of weeks, some of the bigger ones will be up in the 3 to 4 foot range. And not only that, but some of them might even grow to 6 to 7 foot that Dave likes. So there we go with our plants. And this one definitely has a lot of moxie. It also is known as taro root. So if you've heard of taro, it comes from the root of this plant right here. And I was told by a Philippine that stopped at our house a couple years ago that they eat the leaves. I'm not going to try it. So back to you, Phil.
All right, let's move forward. Let's find out how that word did today for our table topics. Where is our word master there? Is he up? Here he's up and running.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. The word of the day, moxie, has been doing quite well so far. It's been used 18 times and we've only made it to table topics. Wow. True to story today, we had 1, 2, and 3 table topics contestants. Our first contestant, Beth, used the word once. Our second contestant, Kate, used moxie twice. David Channon, our third, used it 3 times. All qualify.
Thank you much, word master. How about our timer? Where's our timer?
Everybody qualified? Beth at 141, Kate at 136, and David at 149.
All right. Now they'll be passing out some ballots and there'll be some put online to vote for your favorite or the person you felt did the best at table topics using both qualifying with time and the word. Let's move forward. Do your voting. We'll announce the winner at the end of the meeting. I'm just going to take a quick break here to talk about my little topic. The place that could house us for a period of time would be number one would be excuse me, there comes these things come up right in front of my face and I can't even see what's going on and I get so darn confused. It's easy to distract me. Now the place is LCTV. Judy Naylor, I spoke with her. They have a facility. It's great. They have technology. It's excellent. I spoke with Buck Williams, who runs their techno. He's great. The only person we have to pass it through is their general manager, Zap, I think his name is. I've worked with him before. We've done it. Jackie has done a show. We have to be organized if we're going to do it. That's why I say all hands on deck. It's going to be a lot of things like Mark and Lenny working together to see if they can work with that equipment. We're going to have to make sure that the doors are open at 7. Judy said that'll be all right. We have to make sure we have all the chairs and tables in place that we want to use. There's everything we need is right there. Now, who's it up to? It's up to all of us. AM Lockport Toastmasters. Put it in your heads. Put your thinking caps on. I already have a group of people, that sounds like a bunch of flowers, but a group of Toastmasters that are willing to work with me or work as a group to accomplish this goal. But it will take all of us. Now let's move forward. Our next portion is a speaking portion. All 3 of ours, everything was organized, and I thank Nancy Ferry for jumping back in as the ultimate speaker. She's ready to go, but she will be on deck third base. Now, the first person we're going to introduce will be our first speaker, but we will have to have an evaluator introduce or at least tell us what that speaker is going to be talking about. Evaluator 1 is Sylvia Baptiste. Sylvia, what is Tracy going to be saying to us?
Wow, morning, Phil. How are you?
Good.
It's so nice to be in person. I have to start coming more often. Tracy's working with the Pathways Project this morning, and her project title is Persuasive Influence Level 3. The purpose of this project is to develop or enhance her understanding of the steps and strategies to address conflict. Anyone who works, not even work, we have lots of conflict today. Madam Timer, it's 5 to 7 minutes. The title of Tracy's speech is What's All the Fuss About? Please welcome one of our Moxie members, Tracy Farrell. Tracy.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to unmute. Have you guys ever heard the phrase that peace is not the absence of conflict? It's actually the ability to handle conflict by peaceful means. That's a quote by Ronald Reagan. Fellow Toastmasters, you all know that conflict is a part of being the assessor. Have you ever heard anybody say that they really like their assessor? That they think that their assessments are fair? And all they really want to do is pay their fair share of taxes? Said no one. That never happens. I can promise you that. But the best your assessor can do is come to a fair understanding and fix that problem. Sometimes maybe the assessor has to fix that assessment, and sometimes it's an educational thing where we have to explain how that assessment process works. And obviously, there's a lot of reasons why people run into conflict. And I know everybody has different reasons in their different situations. I can only tell you the conflict that comes into the assessor's office. But the reasons are basically all the same. The first thing is misunderstanding. People don't understand how the process works, or they're not comprehending the other party. And I have to promise you, New York State has the most complicated assessment process in the country. A lot of times people don't understand how their exemptions work. So it's the assessor's job to ask more questions. How old are they? What's their income? What's their past military service? Maybe we can direct them to better exemptions. But then there's the opposite end of the spectrum where they all come in complaining that their taxes are too high and they can't afford their taxes, and basically the assessor's driving them out of their house. Like, wait, hold on. In the past, I was able to bring them in and say, let's bring up your tax bills. Let's see what we're really talking about. And I could bring up 3 years of tax bills. One before the actual reveal, one during the reveal, last year and this year. And so many times I've been able to prove it's like, no, you're paying less taxes now than you did before the reveal. Oh, that's impossible. How could that happen? Well, look, here's this poster that I have posted all over City Hall, any vacant wall, showing how the tax rate's gone down. It's like, kind of showed them why did the taxes go down. And I was like, now you really have to want me to do reassessments every year. This is great for you. I haven't been able to convince anybody of that, but I keep trying nonetheless. The second reason for conflict is their conflicting styles. Some people just come in and say, no, you can't do this to me, and da-da-da-da. Well, wait a minute. Assessor's Moxie comes out at that point and says, yes, I can, da-da-da. Usually it doesn't end well. So those conflicting styles work so well. And then there's varying points of view. A lot of taxpayers think, well, there's potholes on my street, so you can't assess me for that much, or different things within their house. Well, I'm not the pothole police. I can't look at those. A lot of times, and I do have one gentleman that came in last year, an accountant, extremely intelligent, saying, I have the smallest house on the street. My neighbors are all assessed less than me. Well, let's sit down and look. Why is that happening? And then we can pull it up and say, well, look, you have a ranch. You're in excellent condition. And because he was an accountant, I could prove to him that all the sales in the neighborhood, ranches are selling higher per square foot than those two-story colonials, split levels, and the Cape Cods. So if we put it in a style that they understand, numbers, he couldn't fight with those numbers and understood it. He could accept that. he did say that, okay, I'm accepting it this year, but I'll see you again next year. It's like, fine, we'll do that. And then the fourth and final one, this is the biggest one that's hard to deal with, is situational challenges. This is when a conflict arises that's beyond our control. A lot of, especially the elderly, come in and say, I just can't afford to pay my taxes. Like, I understand that frustration because I can't afford to pay our taxes in the city of Lockport either. But my job isn't to assess houses based on one's ability to pay. It's based on the value of the house. And that's one thing New York State does do right, is to separate those out. There's the assessor that does the value, and it's the legislature or the council that does the actual levy and the tax amounts. So how do you resolve these problems and this conflict in communication? You guys have heard every sad story in the city, but the assessor's job is really to sit down and identify the problem. Is it really taxes, or is it the value of their house? If it's taxes, I can put them in a different direction. But if it's the value of their house, do they really think they can sell it for that much? The answer is yes, I did my job. But if not, I have to actively listen some more and find out, well, why? What's the problems of the house? Is there conditions that I don't know about? Is the foundation breaking? And we'll make an appointment and do that walkthrough. And if we really are actively listening, we're listening to the problems in their house. And then when they start talking about the potholes and the trees and the traffic, that's not the value of the house. We need the value of the house, not the potholes. And then once we say, okay, we can, maybe your house isn't worth as much, we can kind of negotiate a solution. Maybe if we can't, that's when the assessor has to really emphasize with the taxpayer. Because I know before I started working in the assessor's office, I didn't understand this process either. So how do we expect somebody else that hasn't been there and been doing this to really understand how it happens? So the best we can do is negotiate a best outcome, hopefully come to an understanding, and might not always come into a pretty package, but sometimes we can meet in the middle. Fellow Toastmasters, that's what all the fuss is about.
Now, we will move forward. I started working on this project of being Toastmaster right after last week's meeting. I feel, and I recommend this to all Toastmasters, to organize your meeting. Start now. Start now. Because if you wait until the night before, it's a difficult task. One of the things that Sylvia brought up is meeting in person. And I am very sure of that because in 1982, there was no Zoom. That's when I started in Toastmasters, and we met. We started with a noon group, then we went to AM Lockport, and AM Lockport is continuing because of all the members here. So this club has a lot of moxie. So let's keep it going. By starting last week, I had one person, the first speaker, to sign up and tell me what he's going to be doing. And that's the next speaker. And I appreciate that because our job as Toastmaster is to know how things are going. I spoke with all three, and I did not talk with this one because he was prepared. His evaluator is going to tell us what this second speaker is going to be talking about. Dr. Stevens, are you ready? There he is. Dr. Gerald Stevens, take it away.
I am ready, and I'm evaluating Joe Budnick today. The title of his speech is History Repeats, and he is going to warm up the audience. Is his goal here. He is going to speak for 5 to 7 minutes, Madam Timer. And are you ready, Joe? Okay, he is waiting in the wings, possibly. I'm not sure if the Toastmaster wants to repeat the title or not, but he is here. When you are ready, Mr. Toastmaster.
Hey,
Good morning. When I was in school, I had a huge struggle with math. I had some teachers, math teachers, who were crackpots that didn't belong in the teaching profession, which made the situation even worse. Ms. Banks was not one of them. She was a super teacher. I had her as a math teacher, and I thank you for making it bearable. I appreciate it. I wish I had other math teachers like you, but they weren't like you at all. You should have taught them. Well, I thought it was torture in middle school that I had to learn algebra. I could see learning fractions maybe, but algebra, that was child abuse in my opinion. And I absolutely hated it. And the only way I got through statistics when I went to college was I had a professor who was super nice, who sat us down and showed us one-on-one how to do it, how to do these problems. And that is the only way I got through it. Now, I thought when I was done with school in college, I would not have to look at math ever again, look at a number ever again. There was no moxie involved with this. But history repeats. It really does. I began subbing. And of course, now I'm a teacher's aide. And of course, obviously, when you're working in a school, the kids have to learn math. Lucky them. I would come in the morning and when I was subbing, and I would look at the lesson plan, the sub plans, and when I would see that the teacher wanted me to go over a math problem with the kids, I wanted to run to China. It's like, lady, no, you don't want me to go over a math problem with these kids. Well, this is how I got away with it. I would say to the kids, show of hands, who would like to come up and give us a demonstration? And you always got the class brain that would raise his or her hand and do it. Now, when I told people that story, people would say, well, how do you know the kid's doing it right? Well, they'd certainly know how to do it more than I would. They wouldn't be doing it right if it was me. But see, in all fairness, when I would see that, I would look at the problems, and the problem was, I thought that, well, I did this in elementary school or middle school. Maybe I can remember it. But they don't teach math the same way, not the way I was in school. They do it differently now. And to me, it's Greek. It was Greek back then, and it's Greek to me now. At the same time, though, I have a lot of empathy. I have a lot of understanding when I'm working with kids and they're frustrated and they're angry because they're having problems with math. I have more patience. I say, listen, I had problems with math too. It's okay if you don't get it. You just do your best, take your time, ask questions when you need help. So I have empathy and I understand when kids are struggling because it's history repeating. I'm seeing myself again, it seems like. Now, the class that I'm working in now, it's an 811 class, and we have a teacher, and there's me and another aide. And there's this one young man in this class. He's about 9 or 10. I won't mention his name. This kid has a very short fuse. He gets frustrated easily, especially when we are doing math. And I'm trying to use my empathy and understanding, saying to him, I understand, I struggled with math too, just take your time. But the teacher said, don't let him fool you, he knows how to do it. He's not having trouble with it. He's a math genius. He just doesn't feel like doing it. He's being lazy. He just doesn't want to do it. Oh, okay. Don't let him pull a fast one over on you. Like this kid would sometimes throw his papers and throw his pencils and that sort of thing. And I'm thinking, once again, this is history repeating. I am not proud to admit I used to do the same thing too at home doing my homework when my parents weren't home. Because my parents would both work, were still at work when I got home from school, and they expected the homework to be done when we got home. And me trying to do math, yeah, I think I probably used my math book as a Frisbee a couple times across the kitchen table. Well, this one particular afternoon, this young fellow was having a fit. And like I said, I try to use my sympathy and understanding, but even I have my limits. This kid is sitting here. I don't want to do this. I don't understand this BS nonsense. I'm sick of it. I don't want to do this. And he's throwing things across the room. I'm playing Frisbee, trying to get him to stop doing it. And he's really getting hot under the collar. And I think this kid is, heading for a heart attack before he's 10 years old. Finally, out of pure exasperation, I finally looked at this kid this one day and I said, you know something, and the amount of time it takes for you to sit here at your desk, moaning and groaning, heeing and hawing about it, you could just do it and it's done. You ever think of that? Kid looks at me. What are you, my mother? You sound just like my mother. And I'm thinking to myself, no, kid, history is repeating. I sound like my mother. I just said, well, your mother sounds like a wise woman. Her and my mother should get together and do lunch. But I also had teachers that said, I believe in you. You're not stupid. You're a smart kid. If you take your time, do it right, you can do it. And that's something I try to do too, and try to install when the kids are struggling, not just with math, but with anything. And hopefully, God willing, that history will repeat itself as well. Thank you.
Well, I spoke with the next supposed speaker. He spent a good time, explained to me his speech, everything else. But he had an important, he called me about a half an hour after we had everything arranged. He had an important meeting at a golf course. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that's a priority. Big priority. I understood completely. And I said, we could do it over Zoom. We could do this. We could do. Oh, we couldn't work it out. We just couldn't work it out. Fortunately, we have a great Toastmaster who stepped right up as the alternate speaker. She was assigned it. She was ready to go. She has a speech. And her evaluator is going to tell us and introduce her as to what she's going to be talking about. Take it away, Les Robinson III.
Thank you, Phil. Nancy Ferry, today's topic is going to be celebrating pride. Time is 5 to 7 minutes. It's out of the motivational strategies, level 3. Researching and presenting. And I would like to present Nancy Ferry.
Thank you, Les, for your introduction. Celebrating pride. I'd like to read a press release that I received last week. Lockport, New York. The city of Lockport is proud to announce a special event featuring the raising of both the Juneteenth and Pride flags on June 3rd on Canal Street. The Juneteenth flag will be raised at 12 noon, followed by the raising of the Pride flag at 1 p.m. Juneteenth, celebrated on June 19th, commemorates the emancipation of enslaved African Americans in the United States. It marks the day in 1865 when Union soldiers brought the news of freedom to enslaved people in Galveston, Texas. More than 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, this flag-raising ceremony underscores our commitment to honoring this significant historical event and celebrating the contributions of African Americans to our community and nation. The Pride flag raising at 1 p.m. signifies our support for the LGBTQ community and our dedication for promoting diversity, inclusion, and equality. June is recognized as Pride Month, celebrating the LGBTQ plus community's history, achievements, and ongoing struggle for equal rights. We invite all residents to join us in recognizing these important events and showing support for our diverse community. Yay, John Lombardi III, our mayor, who had moxie to open a new event. This is the first Pride event in Lockport. And yay to the Keenan Center for hosting it. I know it's a little late for the raising of the flags and you probably missed it, but I just wanted to share that with you. There's going to be a lot of celebrations going on in the county this month. I have a list of them that I'll leave over on the table by the snacks, and please do take a picture and be supportive. So why does pride matter? Because people like Matthew Shepard, who was brutally beaten and hung on a fence post. Harvey Milk was assassinated. Charles Howard, who was drowned, all for being gay. Rebecca White and her partner, Claudia Brenner, who were shot while camping out in the woods because they were lesbians. That's why people need to see who we are, not fear the unknown. LGBTQ plus are real people who deserve full rights and human beings as human beings. I don this stole as a member of the clergy and also a member of the LGBTQ plus, however many pluses they have added to it. I'm not sure anymore. Can't keep track of that. Pride Month was not always a given. Let's look back in history briefly. July 19th, 1868. 3 years post-Civil War, the 14th Amendment was added to our Constitution, giving citizenship rights and equal protection under the law. It wasn't until 1920 that women received the right to vote. 1964, in the midst of the Civil Rights movement, Section 1 was added to the 14th Amendment, bringing voting rights to persons of color, and added that no one shall be deprived life, liberty, or property, giving equal protection under the law to all persons. 1969, Stonewall riots, when the police has raided a gay nightclub in Greenwich Village. The patrons fought back and they rioted for several days. This sparked the beginning of the gay rights movement. 1970, the next year, pride parades were held in June to commemorate the Stonewall riots. 3 cities participated: Chicago, San Francisco, and New York City. Yay. New York City is still the largest pride celebration every year. I'm surprised we beat San Francisco, but legal same-sex marriage was only recognized in kind of staggering years. Massachusetts, 2004. Yay, Massachusetts. New York State, 2010. And then in 2015, it became a federal law where all states legalized same-sex marriages. September 20th, don't ask, don't tell policy for the military was repealed. And it wasn't until June 15th of 2020, 4 years ago, that the Supreme Court ruled to protect against employment discrimination in the LGBTQ community. Now let's go back to marriages. Do you realize the benefits of being legally married? Sometimes those rights are taken for granted. Here are a few. Filing joint tax returns, receiving spouse, Social Security, Medicare, veteran benefits, disability benefits, obtaining insurance and retirement benefits through your spouse's employer, or possibly tuition reimbursements or discounts, taking family leave to care for a spouse who is ill, taking bereavement if your spouse dies or a close member of their family, visiting your spouse in jail and the intensive care. When you're in the intensive care, you can't just have your neighbors come in. You can't have your friends come in. I ran into that when I worked at Kenmore. Making medical decisions in your spouse, if your spouse becomes incapacitated, foster care, child support, custody, visitation, receiving family rates for health and other types of insurances, obtaining immigration and residency benefits for non-citizen spouse. Yes, I celebrate this month with pride. Why? Because I am proud of who I am and I will not live in the closet. I want to continue to educate about and protect marriage rights, practice respect and dignity for all people. I want to honor and never forget those who lost their lives or were brutally attacked for being who God created them to be. Mr. Toastmaster.
I'm going to take about 30 seconds, maybe a little longer, and you are to write a little note about each participant. It is not my job to evaluate anyone. That's why I don't mention anything after anybody's speech. It's my job to introduce them, let the evaluators evaluate them. You make your decision on who is the best speaker. So take some time, think about the speeches, write some notes to the speakers, and also vote for who you think is the best speaker. Once we find out the timing, how they qualified on time. I'm looking for Madam Timer. Madam Timer, can you tell us how the speakers did?
I'm right here, Phil.
Okay.
Tracy, 729, Joe, 556, and Nancy, 723.
They all qualified, is that right?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Timer. All right, as I said, it's not my job to evaluate any one of the speakers. My job is to introduce them, do that job, and let the evaluators evaluate. We're going to call on, I hope he's ready, or who is ready, evaluating Tracy Farrell is Sylvia Baptiste. Tracy Farrell, and then so Sylvia Baptiste, come on up to the lectern and let's hear what you have to say.
I am up here. Well, Tracy's title this morning of her project matched, in my opinion, her project speech. It's so many times, I guess how I should reword this, is her title told us exactly what her speech project is going to be. There's many times that we pick a speech title and it has nothing to do with the project. We're trying to be too creative. That's my fault. So you really did that for me. You started out with a quote from Ronald Reagan, which drew us in. You had good small gestures, spoke clearly, good language, a good pace. And even though you did 1 second before the time ran out using your buffer, I thought that was pretty good. I liked that. At times, Tracy would look upwards, thinking maybe, and I know if you were here doing your speech, you would have focused on the audience more. You would have us, right in your eye zone. The movement in and out was a little bit distracting for me. And I do this, and I went back and looked at one of the videos that we did that I spoke, and I was in person, and I noticed, and I probably did it today. I like moving sideways. So I have to more plant myself and not move sideways by top of my body. Your speech was very educational. It was your personal experiences with work. And when God knows when we work, it's not a 40-hour a week. We work 50, 60 hours. And we learned that you knew in the steps of the strategies of your project, we learned that It was personal experience of how to deal with each person individually. They are all different. You're going to get this old cranky lady who says she has no money. You're going to get the one who just doesn't want to pay taxes. And you seemed like you, with your voice tone, that when you deal with them, you can go on and compare and then learn, teach them the house value, not their income, is their assessment. And then at the end, I liked that you restated your title. And that really drew, I really like the title, and I think I'm going to focus on that as my future speeches. Thank you.
Now, let's introduce our second evaluator. Evaluating Joe Budnick is Dr. Gerald Stevens.
Thank you, Phil, Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters and our guests. Were you not entertained? Always wanted to say that line. I definitely was entertained by Joe's speech today. He included a reference for the audience, a personal reference, Beth Banks. Always good to include the audience that has been there because he's a teacher's aide. We have other teachers. We have a sign language teacher. I'm a teacher chiropractic. So we have a number of teachers in the audience, which is pretty cool. So I felt like I personally could relate to it, and other people that weren't even teachers, they were students at some point. So everybody I felt could relate to that. It's important to have a topic that people can relate to. And then it kind of draws them in a little that way. Use the title in your speech. I always like that, to include that in different ways. It's not just a title just to be a title. We can mix it in. So I like that. And I love the fact that he mixed a bunch of jokes in there. They were like stories, but they can be jokes. They don't have to be dad jokes. Sorry, Dave. We always like to have fun with our favorite senior Toastmasters. Seasoned, yes, thank you. Let's get it right. But in Toastmasters, with everybody needs to improve and should want to improve. So I do have a few suggestions. When you saw the green light, you wrapped it up super quick. I have done that so many times. I did it in a speech contest one time. I said, oh, it's not even red. I still have a lot of time. What am I doing? So it just hits you and you're like, oh, geez. So just make note of it and just continue on a little bit, just being aware. So I think that would help you, because if you didn't wrap up so quick, you had a big point at the end, which I really loved. And I would have liked you to have seen you expand on that. Talking about it's more of an inspiring twist in my mind. I hope that history repeats itself, me doing a good job and showing empathy to my students. That could be expanded upon, but in the future. Eye contact was good. Vocal variety was excellent. You could see the frustration in your face. It was definitely there. I was like, wow, I believe this. There's no joke. He wants to strangle this kid right now. But thankfully not. He did not do that. He still has a job. So I'll give you kudos for that. And I look forward to your future speeches on the topic. Mr. Toastmaster.
Our third evaluator, evaluating Nancy Ferry, is Lester J. Robinson III. Les, take it away.
Thank you, Phil. Nancy was speaking on celebrating pride, and it was a very enjoyable speech. Great topic. Love the tone, love the pace, had great movement, great history. Very enthusiastic. You could hear that in her speech. She immersed herself into the speech because it was part of her and she was celebrating it. And you could feel it, you could see it. The whole thing was just a very incredible speech. I liked how she used the word of the day for the mayor, for Moxie. That was very good. Now, there were a couple problems. Reading off the sheet, Everybody has to do that. You need to practice that a little better so you're kind of glancing and reading, so you're making eye contact with the group, not eye contact. You were fast and slow. Other thing is, I would have had a picture of the flags in the city of Lockport and would have put them up. That I would have done. And moving the microphone down because it was covering your whole face. Now, you guys all criticized me about video, and we all try to improve. But when you're giving a speech, you do not want to see these little sides of your face moving and not seeing your lips. So the microphone, to adjust your microphone. I liked when you brought the clergy in. You had your vesture around you. It showed the importance of the pride, and it was very important how it integrated into the whole speech. You gave the importance of the family overall, being married, all the history parts of being married, and the important part of what the importance of marriage is, how it tied into your speech. It was a great speech. Thank you very much.
Now it is time for me to call on our timer to see how we did on timing with our evaluators. Madam Timer, are you there?
I'm here, Phil.
Great.
Sylvia at 2:51, Gerald at 2:41, and Wes at 1:56.
Does that mean we all qualify? Excellent. Now, I did a lot of preparation, but guess what? I still made a mistake. Now, the best thing I want you to do is to vote for your best evaluator. You got several of them you can vote for, all three. So please vote for your favorite evaluator who you think did the best job. Very good. Now, as I said, all this preparation, all this great work. Sure, I made a mistake. And she's sitting there waiting, waiting to take her role, to evaluate everything that's gone on in this meeting, especially the evaluators. I don't say anything. I'm not person to do the evaluation of the evaluators. I can't evaluate myself. I know when I make a mistake. I know when I do a good job. And you could combine both of them together. But let's put the person up that has some moxie, that has to tell everybody whether they did a good job or not. Let's introduce our general evaluator, Carol Ann Halstead. Sorry, I didn't introduce you earlier, but here you go. You have the floor. Carol Ann Halstead, general evaluator.
Fellow Toastmasters and guests. Phil mentioned some good advice for all of us, that as soon as he knew he was the Toastmaster for this week, he immediately started preparing. And all of the jobs aside from Jester, which is, was easily filled by Dave Licata, were done. And the amazing thing is, he said he spoke to these people. I think so often we all forget that we could use a telephone for communication. So the meeting on the whole was very well prepared. Our evaluators did a very good job today. All of them did the sandwich approach. Sylvia started with all the positive aspects of Tracy's speech and went into what could be improved, and then completed on a positive note for her. Gerald did the same with Joe's speech. aside from being slightly distracted of laughing about Dave Licata, he did follow the positive, the what could be improved, and then again finished with the things that went well with the speech. And Les too did the same type of approach, and all of them were very good at pointing out things for improvement that all of us Toastmasters could benefit from these suggestions. And the reason I decided to appear on Zoom today is because my husband and I have just recovered from COVID. It's still out there, so be careful. So again, a very good meeting today, Mr. Toastmaster.
Very good. You were very kind to me. I appreciate that. Now, I want to ask is Sherry Pang still on with us? If she has anything she'd like to add as a guest? Anything she'd like to say? We have a guest in-house. Do we have a in-house? Would that guest like to say anything? Oh,
Thanks
there's
for the offer, Phil. This is Kate. Hi, I'm Kate. I'm your president. Oh, Cherry is there. It looks like Cherry might have something to say. Cherry, welcome from China. Would you like to unmute yourself and say what you think about the meeting today?
Yeah, it is a very formal meeting. Okay, let me introduce myself a little bit. I'm also a Toastmaster member. Normally we hold the on-site meeting. I need to highlight my English listening is not good enough to understand totally the meeting content. I feel this meeting, what is my feeling is very formal. I learned a lot from this amazing meeting. Thank you. And also I am Marshall's fan. He introduced me in this meeting. So thanks, Marshall. Thank you.
Marshall has moxie. He keeps bringing amazing guests. Cherry, thank you for joining us today. Dan is our guest in-house, and he said, not this time, I'll pass. But that means not this time. I think we'll see him again. So we're here every Thursday. And back to you, Phil.
Thank you. All right. I am going to, let's see, we're going to get moving on this here. We only have to do one person to evaluate all of our words, grammar, and Oz. I could do a lot of Oz. I can butcher the English language. I can use the word, though, Moxie, once in a while. Let's bring up our Wagmaster. Where's Mr. Larry Mackenzie? Are you there in-house? Larry.
I'm here somewhere. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Today we had a word. I actually have three reports. I have the word report, I have the Master's report, and the grammarian report. So let's start out with the word master report. Moxie was used 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 27, and I just used it again. So that would be 28 times. 28 times for Moxie. Oh, 29. There it goes. Yes. Phil, you did have the lead with 6. Good job as a Toastmaster. The word did quite well at the beginning, and it kept going all through the meeting also. What I did like today is I heard some things, and grammarian and word master and master is a job that everybody wants. And today I really wanted this. That's why Phil said, Larry, you didn't respond. I waited to the last hour to say, yes, I'll do it. So here's my report. Dave, I did like something that Dave said. He said that he's not as funny as a clown. I beg to differ. There are moments that you might be, but you don't wear that little red nose. Joe, I want to thank you for your speech. I wrote down a few things. One of the things you said to Beth, I want to thank you for making it bearable. I feel your pain because algebra was one of my favorite subjects that I did not like. You said algebra was child abuse. I'm with you. I'm with you. You also said, you sound like my mother. How many times have we all heard that? Thanks for using that within your speech. Today, I heard a few words that I really liked also. Well, first of all, Les used something that I think that we should all take to heart. And it referred to Nancy when she was giving her speech today. He said, Nancy immersed herself into her speech. And a lot of times when we're preparing a speech to give, we say, oh, I got to give a speech. No, you have to give a speech. Make it something that people get drawn into and immerse yourself into the speech. Nancy did that today. Joe did that. All of our speakers did that today. They immersed us in their speeches. So thank you. A couple of the words I liked were inspiring. Everybody likes to be inspired. Empathy. Good word. Joe used it 4 times in his speech, or 5 times, and his evaluator also used it. Thank you, Dr. Gerald. One of the things that Beth used was really, really. That's actually proper. I looked it up because really, really, when you say something that you really want to emphasize, you repeat. Dave's looking at me. Put the nose on, Dave. Okay. So really, really was actually very good. Thank you. And one word that I know that we all had problems with, but Phil got it correct, was extemporaneously. So thank you. That is my report for today. And I will hand off to our Toastmaster, Phil Russell.
All right. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Wagmaster. Now I want to call up the dynamic duo. This dynamic duo will close the meeting, hand out the prizes for the rewards of doing the good job, and I will now bring up.
What about our Quizmaster?
Oh, what was that?
Quizmaster?
Oh, I forgot the Quizmaster. 2 mistakes.
You weren't listening, Phil.
I know, Madam Quizmaster.
That's all right. Phil's just upset because I've been running his life for a year in Lions because he's been president. I've been secretary. And thank you very much, Larry, for using some of my questions. So I'm going to be down to only 3. What ate Beth's petunias? I think I heard slugs.
What was it? Slugs. I wasn't listening.
Okay. The next are a couple part questions. Nancy mentioned the first celebrations in 3 cities. What were they?
San Francisco, Chicago, and New York City.
Very good. And Gerald named teachers in the room. Who are they?
Beth Banks, himself, and Kate. Joe
But because
Budnick,
we are Toastmasters, who are the teachers
and
in the room?
Dave Channing. There's 4 here.
That's right, 4 here. But however, we are Toastmasters.
Marco.
So how many teachers are really in the room?
All of us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, sorry about that. Mistakes come with Toastmasters and you just have to move through it. It's okay. Now the dynamic duo. To close the meeting, the one that opened the meeting is Beth Banks. The one that's presiding officer is Kate Banks. And they have the opportunity to close this meeting. Let's bring up Kate and Beth.
Mr. Toastmaster, as they are coming up to the lectern, there was one part that I did forget, and I want to bring that back up. Our report. We were doing quite well, and then we ran into a little runway, and we had 12 ahs, 5 ums, a lot of ands. And is the big word. But Edna would be so proud of us, only 3 so's.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Should I go do that then? No? All right.
Come through and make eye contact.
Yes, ma'am. So for our winners for today, our table topics. Oh. Dave Shannon.
You want a ribbon? Would you like a ribbon, sir? Come up. While he's coming up, we are meeting for breakfast over at Olive Leaf, talking ASL and other things. Bravo, Dave. And how do we say you're welcome again? Welcome.
Okay.
All right.
And our best evaluator online is Les Robinson.
Yes, Robinson, bravo.
Very good. I'll just shake your hand there. Okay.
He shut up.
And our best speaker for today is Nancy Ferry.
Bravo, Nancy. Nancy will do our drawing for Split Club. Any last buyers of tickets? Look at your tickets. Look at your tickets. Right there. Oh, we might be out of best speaker ribbon, so I'll shake your hands. She says thank you anyway. Ribbon unnecessary. Last 3 numbers. Pick your ticket.
The last 3 numbers are 621.
Sylvia won. A great reason to come back in person. Remember, everybody, put your name on the back. They're not loser tickets. They're second chance tickets because that could be drawn for your dues on the next time we have dues for August. Yes. Any more announcements? I have an announcement, and then come on up. If you are on deck to make an announcement, just get in line. I see like 3 announcements. We have the summertime coming up, and I love Phil's topic today. Maybe something in person, probably not this summer, like he alluded to, maybe next summer, unless some people can really pull together. Reminder, we're in June, folks. This was our last spring open house, and we are here through the end of June. And then just like last year, unless plans change, we'll be on Zoom all of July and all of August, and then return in person in September after the kids' summer camp is done here at the Y. We have other summer activities to socialize. I will plan on Shakespeare in Delaware Park again and other things, summer picnic, etc. Stick around, please remember to help with the chairs and cleaning up. And then Dave Shannon, come on over. And Len also had, Len, go ahead.
Yes, our Toastmaster next week is Sylvia
Yeah.
Baptiste. And speakers are Beth Banks, Les Robinson, Mike Licata. Evaluators, Larry McKenzie, Mike Florio, and Steve Smith. So check the schedule for next week.
I have I'm a very fortunate person. Yesterday, I went to court for grand jury duty. Luckily, they dismissed me. And I'm very happy to say that because I would be missing these meetings probably for all of June, because it was for the month of June. With that said, thanks to Len's help, I have a computer now that works. I tried it out with Dave Jones and we had a Zoom meeting. And so now I will be able to Zoom in July and maybe also contribute some sign language in July, now that I can Zoom. So thank you.
Thank you, David. I will conclude the meeting. Just a reminder, this is so the recording can stop, so you can get processing that. Thank you, Len and Mark, our Zoom masters. Stop the